So if you feel nervous around the extra food events, social food events over the silly season, you're in luck. So in today's episode, I'm share with you four tiny but powerful concrete strategies to feel good about your food choices so you enjoy yourself without the shame or the guilt this holiday season. Hi, so welcome to Joyful Eating, episode 202. And today we're talking about how to feel good about your choices in social eating situations. But before we get to that, best bite I had. So I have been growing like asparagus for years and I've never really grown much, but this year I've been having a bumper crop. And so on the weekend, I roasted some asparagus. Some was from the farmer's market, some was from the garden, wasn't all mine. Um, yeah, so just roasted it until it was soft and lovely, and then I served it with a salsa of like basil, so kind of like a deconstructed pesto. So basil, parmesan, bit of garlic, lemon juice, olive oil, and then pine nut crumbs, which is an idea I got when I was in Paris this time last year, actually, where like a couple of restaurants they'd serve dishes that had like crumbed nuts, so just like nuts that have been like finely pulverized in, or not finely pulverized, but like into a crumb in the food processor. And so I did that with pine nuts and roasted pine nuts, and it was just like so good because you get like more nut in every bite. And yeah, it was just that combo of asparagus with the basil and pine nuts. Like yeah, it was really really good. We had it with some lamb, and normally like I'm a huge lamb fan, but it was actually the asparagus was the best thing I ate that weekend. Okay, so our plan today. Enough about what I've been eating. Um, First of all, I'm going to share uh, the the missed opportunity story behind this episode, and then we're going to look at. Then I'm going to share with you these four powerful and tiny strategies to help you feel good about your choices in social eating situations. And then I've got some four bonus tips to help make life easier for yourself. And then one tiny step so you can apply this concept today. So you'll be really clear on how to get started. So yeah, story behind this is basically it's that time of year, right? So we all have more social situations than normal. And I know for my clients, like it's one thing to be in your own environment and in your normal everyday life eating food, but then when you add in social situations that you're not normally attending, it can be a bit tricky. So I thought it'd be great it's always good to have a refresher on this at this time of year. So that's why we're doing this episode now. And so let's just dive straight in. Like, what are these four tips that are tiny but powerful and concrete? So first is to decide to be self-compassionate. And so what I mean by that is just like regardless of what happens in any social eating situations, you can decide ahead of time that regardless of how I do, regardless of how much I drink, how much I eat, that I can be kind to myself and I can like just like whatever happens at the end of it, I can go, of course, like, it's tricky navigating situations like this. It's like, I just speak kindly to yourself about the situation rather than beating yourself up. And so if you've already decided that you're going to be self-compassionate, that takes a lot of the pressure off because then when you go into the social situations, you know that you've got your own back regardless of what happens, and you're not going to be beating yourself up tomorrow morning or Monday morning. Then that just makes it easier to navigate and to get a better result because you're not afraid of what you're going to do, like how you're going to be with yourself. So always choosing self-compassion, such a powerful thing. And what that looks like is like when you do wake up with a hangover, if you do wake up in the middle of the night with a bellyache, whatever, just going, of course I overate, of course I drank too much. Like I'm human, I was out, it's okay. Like, and just being kind to yourself. Okay, so that sets the tone for how you're going to interact with yourself. Next concrete step is to set a realistic intention. And so what we want to do is whenever particularly around alcohol, if there's going to be drinking, before you start drinking, you want to just pause, or before you start eating, just pause and ask yourself, like, how do I want this to go? And really be really specific with yourself on the outcome, particularly if you're drinking, like be really concrete on, okay, am I going to have 2 glasses of champagne? Am I having a whole bottle of wine? Am I having one cocktail? Like, am I having 10 cocktails? It doesn't matter so much the quantity, but what we want to do is get into the habit of just thinking it through first. And you might decide there's some events that you just like go, I just don't want to think about it. I just want to drink as much as I'm going to drink. And that's okay too. But you want to set that intention ahead of time. But most of the time, you're probably not going to want to get hammered. So it's like, okay, what would feel realistic? What would feel doable, given if I'm normally in this situation? And then let yourself do it. And if you particularly around alcohol, if you feel like, oh, I don't know if I can do that, just think about the last time you were going to a social situation and you were driving. And so you'd set that intention before, hey, I'm going to drive, which means I can't have more than 2 drinks or however many your number is for when you're driving, and you're able to stick to it. So we know that you have the ability to set intentions and stick to them. It's just a matter of getting into the habit of doing it when you're not driving as well. Like that's an option. So, but we want to be realistic. You don't want to set yourself up for, oh, if you normally have like 4 glasses of wine, just going, okay, well, I'm just going to have one. Like that can be too hard. So we want to be realistic, but we want to set intentions. And this is like one of the most helpful habits you can get into, because it helps you use a better part of your brain for making your choices around food and alcohol. And it means that we tend to get a better result when we are intentional, when we bring that rational thought into the moment. And the way to do that is just to have that pause. So before you go, get in the cab to go out, before you walk in the door of the bar, before you go into the restaurant, before you go walk into your friend's place, just pausing and going, how do I want this to go? And just setting that intention in your brain. And then the fourth tip, tiny strategy for being for feeling good about your choices, is to choose again in the moment. So when you notice yourself, say you'd set an intention you're going to have one piece of pumpkin pie at Thanksgiving, and then you notice yourself you're halfway through the second piece, then you can pause then and go, hang on, again, be self-compassionate. Of course, I've gone for more pie. And rather than going into what the hell eating of like, oh, I've already blown this, I might as well just keep going. You can pause then and go, okay, well, what do I want now? Like, do I want the rest of this pie now? And you might decide, yeah, I do. I'm going to have the rest of this pie, but 2 pieces will be enough. Or you might decide, actually, I'm feeling pretty full. I don't want to feel sick later. I'm going to leave this pie. And either choice is fine, but just giving yourself that option to choose again in the moment is really powerful. And that works as well if you haven't set an intention and you forgot for whatever reason, and then you're halfway like through the meal, you can just go, oh, hang on, how do I want this to go now? And you can just reconnect with what you want at any moment. So you can choose again, you can choose at any moment. And then, which was also great because it means that we don't have to be perfect with it. And then the fourth tip for powerful strategy for helping you feel good about your choices is, regardless of what happens, even if you do have a situation like you overdo it, you feel like you're being compassionate, but you're a bit disappointed with yourself, then what we can do is look for the lesson. So then, regardless of what happened, at least then we're going to learn something. So you can look at like, okay, what could I do differently next time I'm in that situation? How do I want it to go next time so that I don't make this same mistake? And by doing that, like course correcting afterwards and learning from each session, it does mean that you incrementally over time get better, and you make less often make the same mistakes, and you get to feel good about yourself. But you can choose to feel good about a situation in the moment just by deciding, okay, I'm going to look for the lesson here. I'm going to let myself feel good about finding the lesson. So there's always, regardless of the outcome, there's always a way to let yourself feel good about your choices. So they're the four things. So deciding to be self-compassionate, being realistic, setting intentions and being realistic with them, choosing again in any moment, and then looking for the lesson and looking for the opportunity in regardless of the circumstances. And then my bonus tips for you is like use your environment, like engineer your environment to your advantage. So don't make life harder for yourself than it needs to be. So, if you have a weakness for the cheese and crackers, don't sit next to the cheese plate. Don't stand next to the cheese plate at the party. Like move away from, like, grab some cheese, sure, but move away from it so that you're not automatically going back for more and more. Or if you another one, like in terms of drinking, is, if um only buying what you want to drink that night, only having that in the house can be helpful. Or serving yourself out what you're going to drink. This is what I do before I start drinking. So then I've got that end point. I've got that pause point before I go back for more. So that's using your environment, engineering your environment. So powerful. Another one is, like, if you're uh, yeah, like, and also there's no shame in, if you know that you're really good with not drinking too much when you're driving, like, drive to the event so that you've got that option. Like, set that environment up, volunteer to be the designated driver. Just make life easy for yourself. And then another next bonus tip is, like, from like when you're eating, if you're at a restaurant or you're at a meal, is one thing I like to do is, when I know that I've had enough, is like just putting my napkin on the plate. And if possible, I'll move the plate away from myself a little bit, but just signaling to myself that, yes, that's right, I'm done, so that I'm not going to go back and keep picking. So I guess this is another version of a specific example of engineering your environment, but I find that one really helpful when I'm out at restaurants, particularly if, like, there's still food in the middle of the table. It's just like, no, I'm done here, everyone. Um, Another bonus tip is to like, remind yourself that there is going to be a lot of amazing food in your future. So just be like, when you are out and about, yes, this is you're going to have pumpkin pie probably again till next year, next Thanksgiving, but I don't know why I'm using pumpkin pie, for example, but there will be more delicious food for you tomorrow. So there's no need to eat all the pie now, because there will be other pies, or there'll be other delicious things that you love. So coming at it from this place of food abundance. And then another bonus tip, this is a bit more of an advanced strategy, is just to check in with how you're feeling. So often, a lot of, like, over drinking or overeating in social situations is that we feel a little bit uncomfortable. Like, there's a little bit of awkwardness or a little bit of self-consciousness that can come up in social situations. And so we, like, tend to reach for food, or we have another drink to help it calm ourselves. And so another strategy to help with that is just to check in with, like, oh, how am I feeling? And just noticing, oh, yeah, I'm feeling a bit nervous. Like, I haven't been to a party for a few weeks, like for a while, or I'm feeling a bit, I'm feeling excited because I haven't seen these people for ages, whatever it is. But just having that little check in with your feelings helps you process emotion. So then you're less likely to want to eat over them or drink over them. But this is an advanced strategy. But by all means, if you feel up for that one, go for it. So yeah, that was a lot, I know. But so what I want you to do, in terms of, like, what's one tiny step to really take away from this, is you can decide now to be self-compassionate, to be, regardless of what happens, that you're going to be kind to yourself after the event. And next time you overeat, just remember that, yes, okay, I overate. It's okay. I'm a human. Humans do this. It's not the end of the world. Of course I overate. And just that alone will change how you feel about it. It's going to help you feel, maybe not necessarily really good about what happened, but it will help you feel more neutral, and it will stop you from feeling bad. So, whatever you're doing to celebrate, I hope you have a fantastic week this week. And I hope you've got some fun social situations that you're going to get to experiment with and try these ideas out. But yeah, setting those intentions, be realistic intentions, remembering you can choose again in any moment, looking for the lessons, and deciding to be self-compassionate is, like, that will take you a very long way. Okay, have a fantastic week, and I will see you next week.